the organisation actually works. You can't deliver a great experience unless the organisation functions well. So that's primarily what these sessions are about. It's some ideas, some tips and suggestions based on School of Positive Psychology. Hopefully from today you'll get some ideas that not only you can apply to yourselves, but also you can apply within the school environment. I've just spent the first 3 hours of today running a workshop with 30 students. We've been in a marquee tent at the back of this facility, and we've been running a design thinking session to come up with some ideas about potential happiness projects that can be run in schools. So the applications, the ability to use the concept of happiness, positive psychology, and jealous. Okay? So that's the topic of happiness. Okay, we often think that happiness is something we just take for granted. We often think that happiness is something that happens to us, where in reality we are in control of our own happiness and we are able to influence how happy we are. And what I'll provide to you today is some very practical ways based on research that give you a taste of how you are. So, as a starting point, very simple question for you, and that is, what makes us happy? And I'm going to ask you that question. Normally I have a little happy ball actually, and you may be delighted to know that I've gone to it with me, but nevertheless, can any of you offer up any suggestions? What are the sorts of things that make you happy? Okay, that sounds very nice. I think that will make me happy as well. Okay, yeah, so family, yeah. Anything else? What makes you happy? Okay, kids as in your own or you're in school? Your children, okay, excellent. So when other people, children achieve something, yeah? Anything else? Hello. What else makes you happy? Jokes, okay? Do you know any good jokes? We'll get some at you soon, okay? Yeah, jokes, yeah? Connecting with other people. Anything else? Anything else that makes you happy? Achieving some goals. Yeah, okay. Is that for yourself or is that seeing students achieving goals as well? Both. Okay? Yeah. Excellent. So the reality is that for each of us, different things make us happy. Some of them are common, some of them are individual to ourselves. But what I want to share with you are some of the principles that sit behind happiness. And if we ask the question, what is happiness? The fact is that from person to person, it does vary. But approximately 50% of our happiness is genetically determined. Okay? So based on this premise, that basically means that effectively our parents pretty much help to determine 50% of our ability to achieve happiness. Okay? But it's 50%. And the reason you might ask how this statistic came to be, this statistic was based on research of twins. Okay, so analysing rates of happiness within twins. And it is possible, by the way, to actually measure happiness. It is possible to quantify happiness. If, however, 50% of our happiness is genetically determined, my maths has never been fantastic, but I reckon that means we've got 50% which is made up from other factors. Okay? And those 50%, about 50%, is made up by 10%, give or take, which relates to our circumstance. And by circumstance, we effectively mean things that happen around us. So if you think this morning, what was your journey like coming to Healthcare City this morning? Was it a good experience or a bad one? Bad? Straightforward? Okay, anybody sit in traffic? You park okay? Yeah? I had a surprisingly quick but but also quite painful journey in terms of being stuck in traffic in different places, having to go a completely different route than I would normally do to try and dodge traffic. Circumstances dictate, depend on what happens to us, literally moment to moment, hour to hour, our circumstances will impact on us and our circumstances will change how we feel. And if you think yourself, different things happen at different times, yeah? Any of you have to queue for your lunch? Yeah? Did that affect your level of happiness? Okay? The fact is that circumstances do change and do vary from time to time. But nevertheless, statistically, it's identified that determines about 10% of our happiness. If again you ask the question, well, how did we work that out? Well, that wasn't based on a survey of twins. That was actually based on research for individuals who had experienced life-changing circumstance. And by that I mean that there were a group of individuals that were researched who had basically won a significant amount of money. So they won the lottery or they won the pools. And the other group of people were individuals who had been paralysed or disabled through accidents. Okay, so you've got two completely different sets of people, entirely different circumstances. Their level of happiness was measured at the time that the life-changing event had happened, and it was also measured 1 year later. Of those two groups, which one do you think would be most likely to be happier 1 year after that life-changing event? The ones that won that significant money, or the ones that had been affected by disability?
Those affected by disability.
Affected by disability? You agree? Yeah, our sense would be that that would be the case. The reality is, again, the research demonstrated and proved that actually their level of happiness was equal. They were both equally happy with their circumstances 1 year after that life-changing event. Okay? Because that's our ability to actually control and affect our happiness. Which brings us to the fact that a significant portion of our happiness is actually affected by our thoughts, our actions, and our behaviours. So what we're essentially saying is, okay, 50% of it is based on the luck of who you're born to. You can't do a lot about that. Yeah. 10% of it is circumstantial, and the reality is the circumstance, we can't actually do a great deal about that either. Yeah. Let's face it, if you can't get a car parking space, you can. But those circumstances change, and that's why there's some volatility there, because those circumstances are typically only fleeting. They will happen for a period of time, something else will happen, we bounce back. But the 40% that's controlled by our thoughts and behaviours and actions, those are the particular areas that we're going to concentrate and focus on today. Okay? And I don't know about you, but 40% is quite a good range to play with. Yeah? We've got a fairly significant amount of scope here. So, let me also touch on why this is important. Okay? So typically we might consider ourselves to be a glass half full or glass half empty type of person. Okay? How many of you think that you're a glass half full? How many of you, show of hands, how many of you think you're typically generally a positive person? Yeah? Okay? This study is a very curious study in its own right, okay? It's called the Nun study. And none as in N-U-N, not none as in N-O-N-E. Okay? And the reason that this study is curious is that when it started, none of the participants in the study knew that they were going to be part of the study. And the story goes like this. So a group of nuns joined a convent over 60 years ago, back in the 30s, 40s. And when they entered the convent, they were all asked to write an essay. And the essay was basically a description of their backgrounds, a little bit around about them, a bit about the reason they made the decision that they had to go into the convent, etc. They were all documented, they were written, they were put away. Okay? When the group of researchers went into the convent, some 60 years later, over 40% of these nuns had already died. So So not only didn't they know they were going to be part of the survey, they were no longer allowed to be part of the survey. And those essays were taken and they were analysed for positive and negative sentiments, pretty much like you do with social media these days. And on the basis of the analysis of those essays, the nuns were put into pretty much two categories. And they were primarily positive and primarily negative. And to give you an indication, so some of the nuns that fell into the negative category would have said, I've had a very difficult upbringing, I'm not really sure what my direction in life is, but I'm looking for an answer, and this is what I'm trying to do. Versus the other who was significantly positive and had a fantastic upbringing, was completely supported in their decision to move into the convent, etc., etc. Okay? Now, I've already said that by this time the essays were analysed, over 42% of the nuns had already died. And what the researchers had discovered was that the nuns that had died were significantly more likely to have been in the negative category. And this and other research since then has pretty much come to the conclusion that having a more positive outlook on life doesn't actually just make you feel better, but it actually can help to improve your longevity, how long you live. And not just a little bit. The research, not just this, but many other research studies, have proven that you potentially can improve your life expectancy by up to 10 years. Okay? So having a more positive outlook on life, being more positive, will lead to health benefits, and health benefits instead lead to okay? So happiness is not something we should just take for granted. We've got a significant opportunity to improve our own happiness, and it sounds like the payback is pretty good. Okay, so it's worth investing some time in. Okay. So what I'm going to do is take you through a couple of activities that will help you to, one, experience happiness, but also give you some takeaways that not only can you use and apply to yourself, but also actually apply and use with students in the classroom situation. Okay? So what I'd like you to do, first of all, if you can all join me up here, and I've drawn out an axis on the ground. What I'd like you to do, if you can sort of line up around the outside of this graph, please. In your life, if you're not already achieving it, it's nothing to say you're not already there. Okay? And if we think about this is our plot area, and what I'm going to ask you to do shortly is to plot and position yourself on this particular chart. Okay? And we've got two axes. We've got one which is represents the level of challenge, and we've got one which represents the level of skill. Okay? And what I'm going to ask you to do in relation to yourselves as teachers, okay, and thinking about your typical classroom environment, or in terms of your typical role on a day-to-day basis. What I want you to do is take your little piece of masking paper and place yourself on here. And let me explain what I mean by that first and foremost, okay? So if we say here, this is the high level of challenge. So if each and every day you go into a classroom situation and you feel that you're being stretched by that particular activity or that particular classroom situation, particular role that you do, you would place yourself quite high up on the challenge level, okay? The other side of the equation is basically the level of skill. So let's say you're a teacher, you've been teaching your subject for 25 years. The assumption would be that your skill level is pretty high, okay? But the question that I want you to ask yourselves is, okay, my skill level is really high, but honestly, am I being challenged? Each and every day, am I being challenged and challenged in a positive way, okay? So just take a moment to reflect on that for yourself. Think about where would you position yourself in relation to the level of challenge that you're presented with and the level of skill that you're able to bring to that. Okay? Is everybody clear on the instructions?
Yes.
Makes sense? When you're ready, take a moment for reflection and then just come and put your mask and tape wherever you think you're positioned on here. Okay? So we've got a nice little clustering up in that top area. If we look at this in terms of what this means for you and what this means for your level of happiness, a couple of things stand out. If we're in a situation typically where actually we're being challenged, but our skill level isn't high enough, yeah? So we're not really being stretched, we're not being challenged particularly, and our skill level isn't particularly high. The reality is that what's most likely to be happening is this: you're going to be bored. Yeah, if you're in that bottom quadrant, you're going to be bored. You don't have the right skills, but you don't have the level of challenge there either. Okay? If conversely you're over here, and sorry, that should be along here. If conversely your skill level, I'm getting this wrong way around, become very, very anxious, and that should be. Okay, you're going to be very, very anxious. Okay, because you're being stretched beyond what you can actually do. Okay, so the reality is that this top quadrant is the ideal place for you to be. And this is based on some research by a Hungarian psychiatrist called Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And if you see his name written, you'll never in a million years be able to pronounce it. But trust me, his name is Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi. And what he identified and talked about was a state of flow. Okay? And the best way I can describe a state of flow to you is, have you been in a situation where you've been so engrossed with a particular activity that you completely lost track of time? Yeah? That's flow. Okay? What we often find is that we're more likely to achieve flow through non-work related activities, often. It could be a sport, it could be playing an instrument. Yeah, something that really engrosses us and engages us, we lose track of time. If you're achieving that through a work situation, that's fantastic. Yeah, because you've got this right equal balance between the challenge, the skills. You're actually complementing each other very, very well, and that's the optimal place to be. Okay? And what I'd say for you, if you find yourself in these other quadrants, the goal really is to say, okay, I'm not being challenged enough, my level of challenge is too low in relation to my skill. What can I do? And again, 40% is in your own control. What can I do to address that? How can I bring my challenge level up so actually I can get to this point? How can I get to the point where I can be more in a state of flow? And conversely, the challenge is too high because your skill level isn't adequate. What can you do to actually bring that level of skill up? Now, in some of these sessions that I've run, I've had some students in this group as well, and I've asked students to plot themselves in this way. And what I discovered in that was very interesting, because my assumption would be, and I'm the parent of three essentially adult children now, 22, 19 and 16, nearly 17. What I would assume to be the case is that for many students, they would find that their skill level was relatively low and the challenge level was relatively high. So you would assume anxiety. It wasn't the case. For the majority of the students in that session, they actually said, converse was the case, they perceived that their skill level was very high and actually they weren't being challenged. Exactly. Okay? Exactly. So this is a very simple way to help us think through ourselves, where do we place ourselves? What level of challenge are we actually giving to ourselves? Okay? Can I ask you to form a circle? Come on. It can be a fairly loose circle given the space. Okay? We're going to do a very simple activity just to see if we can experience this state of flow. Okay? It starts off very simply, and then we'll build a few levels of challenge into it. Okay? And see if we can get to this magical skill balanced with our challenge. Okay? So the first round is a very simple challenge. It's very low level, and all I want you to do is to turn to the person next to you. Look at the person next to you. Not yet? So teachers that don't follow instructions, honestly. Yeah. Okay? I will say my name to you. You repeat my name. You will then turn. You will say your name. You will repeat the name and so on. Okay? So we'll do a little practice. Helen. Repeat my name first.
Helen.
Okay? Now turn. Your name?
Bashir.
Bashir.
Selma.
Lemis. Okay? Simple. Where are we on this spectrum? Low skill, low challenge? Yeah? Increase it a little bit? This time, I want you to say a colour. Any colour that comes in your mind, it doesn't matter if you repeat it, yeah? One that you've heard before, but we're then going to set a colour going around the room, okay? Same thing. You hear the colour, you repeat the colour, you turn new colour, okay? Red.
Red. Green.
I'm going to speed this up. That way. Okay, speed it up. And also, we're going to start sending the name around. Hopefully you all remember the name. You good on that? It's your own name, you should remember. Then, when I think we're ready, as the name starts to go around, I'm then going to start the colour going around. So we'll have the name followed by the colour. Okay? Then, when I think you're ready, the country will go in as well. Okay? Now our goal is we need to keep the name ahead of the colour, ahead of the country. And we're going to do this quickly. Okay? Because what we want to do is to achieve the state of flow. Okay? Are you up for the challenge? Yeah? Okay, let's give this a go. Okay. Helen.
Bashir.
Bashir. David.
David. Faraz.
Shaista. Susan. Sajna.
Omera. Green. Pink.
Pink. White.
Yellow.
Colours changing, chasing you.
White.
Green.
Selma.
Green. Wales.
White. Canada.
Blue. Korea.
Here. David.
Orange.
India.
Faraz. Libya.
Again.
Faster.
Omera.
Faster.
Blue.
White.
Pink.
Austria.
How do you think?
India.
Pakistan.
Pink.
UK.
UK.
Red.
Canada. Korea.
Lemis. Helen.
India.
Bashir. David.
Okay, and stop.
Very good.
Well done. Got a bit sticky in places, yeah, but we're warmed up. Okay, can I ask you just take your seats again, people, please? Thank you.
Thank you.
Identifying what went well for you on any particular day. The act of not just thinking about what went well for you, but the fact that you actually write it down and share it with someone. If you perform this activity on a daily basis for about 5 or 6 weeks, the benefits, not only will your happiness improve for the time that you do it, but the ongoing effects of that will last. Even if you stop, the improvements will last for over 6 months. Okay? And I am going to ask you to do this, but let me just give you a little taste of this. As I've said to you, I've got 3, pretty much adult children. 22, 19 and 16. About 18 months ago, 2 years ago, I asked the younger 2 children, so then 16 and 14. I decided to try this on them. Okay? And generally we think, most students, okay, exam pressures, but pretty much you wouldn't think they've got much of a care in the world. I picked my younger 2 kids up from school, and on the drive home, I said to them, okay, tell me 3 good things that happened to you today. The answer I got from my 2 cherubs, my 2 lovely children, Erin and Alex, was nothing. Okay, so I said, let's try this again. So you're telling me that nothing good has happened in school today whatsoever? Yes. So one of them started complaining that they'd had an exam, I think it was a maths test or something. The other had said, it was just lessons all day, this, that and the other. And I thought, I'm not going to let go on this. I'm going to keep trying. So we ended up having one of the most productive conversations that we've had in a long, long time. And the reason was because I kept digging them to actually identify something that had happened positively to them. It turned out that maths test, Alex had actually done quite well. Yeah? It turned out that Erin had quite a good day because something had happened with one of her friends, etc. So you get the idea. Once you actually start to dig a bit deeper, even if we think, do you know what? Yesterday was awful. Once we start to dig a bit deeper, the reality is there are positive things. We've just grown out of the habit of looking at the positive things. Yeah, and think, we all do this. It's far, far, far easier to look at the negative things that happen. Yeah? And whenever I run this activity, the one thing that I always get asked is, can we come up with 3 negative things that happened instead? It's easier. Okay? So, you're exactly, okay? Positive psychology, we can effectively retrain our brains. We can start to think more positively. So what I want you to all do, each of you, write down, and it's important you write them down, write down 3 things that happened in the last 24 hours that were positive. 3 things that happened to you that you considered being positive in the last 24 hours. Okay? Write them down now, please. Okay, so you're going to say you've got your 3 things. Okay. Because of time, I won't ask them to share them now, but David's just said, just the simple act of doing this, just thinking about and changing the way that we think, actually brings a smile to our faces anyway. I would strongly, strongly recommend for you to try this. And what I would also recommend you do is to try this activity, not just on yourself, but try it with your family, with your kids, with your husband, your wife, your friends. Just try it and see what the different conversation you have with them. When you're focusing on the positive things that happened in your day, as opposed to tell me about your day and all of the bad stuff comes out. Okay? It will make a tremendous difference to the way that you feel. Okay? How easy or difficult did you find that as an activity? Were those 3 things easy to think of? Yeah? Or would it have been easier to do the negative ones? That's often the case. So 3 about happiness. Very, very simple, but very, very easy. Nope. There's another session straight afterwards, so if you want to stay for that, ASAP. Okay? Happiness is basically a virus, okay? But it's one of the few positive viruses on this planet, okay? And when I say happiness is contagious, I'm going to give you a very specific example of this, okay? And this is a situation where my husband thought I'd gone completely insane. So in order to test out this theory about happiness being contagious, a couple of months ago, while the weather was still a little bit cooler, my husband does marathon running, so he's always running, and my knees packed up years ago, but at least I join him, I'll go on the bike with him. So we were up at Mushroom Park, the other side of Murdiff. Any of you know, it's a lovely park, big cycle track all the way around, and it's a circuit, big circuit. So he's merrily running along, I'm merrily cycling along, and I decided that during this circuit, everybody who passed me coming the other way, I was going to smile and I was going to say hello. Okay? So a couple of people pass and I say hello and they say hello back. And we're maybe 3, 4, 5 people in, and my husband said, "What are you doing?" And I said, "Just trying to act. I want to see what happens." And I'll tell you what happens. And this, again, test it for yourself without wishing to get you arrested for making acquaintance with people that you don't know. But you'll prove this to yourself. Every single time I said hello to somebody, typically as they approached me, their head was down. Yeah, they weren't engaged. As I said hello, the first thing they had to look on their face was shock. Who is this mad woman on a bike with a bloke running next to her? Okay, complete shock. The next thing that happened, every single one of them, without fail, straightened themselves up, their shoulders went back, they looked up, and a huge smile went on every single one of their faces without exception. Okay? The change, that simple act of connecting with somebody to pass on this happiness virus was so significant. By the time we were seeing people, because we're going clockwise and anti-clockwise, by the time we saw them the second and third time round, the smile was even bigger. Okay? It's so simple, it's so easy that we forget to do it. Okay? So not only can you do your positive journaling, you can try smiling at a few people and see what the effect is. Okay? And also, it's about the effect you put on other people, but it's about the effect it gives to yourself also. Okay? I can't tell you the effect in terms of when you come into this room, and now as I see you smile and engage and come back, makes me feel good. Okay? So, happiness is contagious. Another specific happiness training activity, and all of these tips are basically they help to retrain the brain. Okay? And what it does, it reprograms our brain to stop focusing on the negative and start thinking on the positive. Very simple activity again, effects, and there are two different approaches for this. Okay? So the first one is to identify 3 things you feel grateful for. And those things, they could be things like your health, they could be things like other people, they could be things that happen around you. Okay? And the idea is that you write them down. Again, 3 things that you're grateful for, and again, if you do them on a frequent basis. The other gratitude exercise is to select one important person from your past who's made a positive difference to your life. Okay? And it should be somebody you've never fully expressed your gratitude to. Okay? It should be somebody who is still alive. Yeah? And the idea is that once you've formed in your mind this expression of gratitude, why you feel grateful for them, what you should do is actually contact them and tell them. Okay? Because again, we don't do this often enough. Now, again, I just want to give you a kind of the right way to do this and the wrong way to do it. This isn't something you should force. Just purely coincidentally, without me having mentioned this activity to my daughter, a couple of weeks ago, she said, do you know what, Mum? She said, I was in class the other day and we were basically asked to write a letter of gratitude from one of the teaching assistants. And I said, okay. And she said, yeah, and she was in the class and we had to write it, present it back to her then. Okay? It's too forced, that's not what you're trying to do. What you're trying to do is really think in yourself and think of people who've made that impact. It could be people you work with every day, it could be friends that you've had for a long time, it could be your family, it could be your spouse, it could be your kids, anything. But it's got to be a genuine intent and the person who you want to actually create that message for. Okay? And again, it's not just the thinking about it, it's the writing it down and then it's communicating it to that person. Okay? And think yourself, think what a difference it makes when somebody is grateful for what you've done, show gratitude for what you've done. Okay? And think about how that will benefit and impact on somebody else. Okay? So just take one moment, think about who that person might be, or maybe it's not a person, think about something else that you're actually grateful for, and just take a moment to write that down. Okay? Gratitude exercise does as well, similar to the positive exercise. It actually causes us to stop and take notice of things that are important to us, things that we take for granted. That's what this activity is really doing, is making sure that we don't take things for granted. Okay. Have you all been able to think of something? Is there anybody who isn't able to feel grateful for something in their life? Do you all have something written down? If you can, if it involves another person, then I would suggest sharing after this session. Okay? I'm afraid that that's the end of this session, completely out of time. Ordinarily when I run these sessions, there's a wellbeing session, which is run afterwards. Because of today the student had this jam that I ran downstairs, we're not able to do that. But what I do hope is that you've each got something that you can take out of today's session, something that causes you to reflect and to think about how you think about your own state of happiness. But do think about the fact that 40% figure, okay? 40% of our own personal happiness is completely within our control in terms of our thoughts, our actions, and our behaviour. Okay? So make that your opportunity, your mission to make sure that you're fully in control of that 40% and think about how you can use that principle to apply that to the students and the teachers as well. Okay? Thank you.
Okay, so